All right, so just one more reminder to keep your microphones muted through this. There will be some time at the end for questions, and we will utilize the chat for that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But welcome to our accepted students. Congratulations again to all of you, and welcome to our athletics overview. For those who don't know, my name is Vicki Rosa, and I am our Director for Undergraduate Admission. Some of you have been with us all week, so thank you for continuing to
Awesome.
join in on these sessions. And many of the names that I see on here, I have gotten to know very well just in working with your future Regis coaches through your recruitment process. So thanks to all of you for being with us. This session is really giving us an opportunity to shift gears a bit from the academic focus that we have had so far this week, and to start to shed a little bit of light on the student life at Regis. Athletics is a huge part of who we are, whether you are competing on a team or participating more as a fan.
Absolutely.
Our athletic programs are really bringing the excitement to campus. With that said, though, I would say that the common themes that we've seen through some of these other sessions in terms of the sense of community and the levels of support, athletics is no exception to this. And I would argue that as a student athlete at Regis, your that sense of community is even more heightened for you. And there's just added levels of support built into that through your teammates and your coaches and your mentors. So it's just another way that Regis is really setting its students up for success. So with me today to talk a whole lot more about that are three members of our athletics department. We have our Dean of Athletics, Pam Roker, our Athletics Director, Laura Violet, and one of our current student athletes, biology major and member of our men's soccer team. We have Santi Pedraza Novak. So we're going to get started. I am going to turn things over right now to Pam Roker, our Dean of Athletics.
Thank you so much, Vicki and Laura, Santi. Thanks for being on the call. Most importantly, thank you to all of our accepted students. I know we have deposited student athletes. I know some of you are still thinking about your future plans. And I want to start by saying, number one, Regis Athletics is one of my favorite topics, athletics in general. But I really want to let you know, as seniors, we are thinking of all of you. In this unprecedented time, especially our spring sport seniors on the call. It was a very difficult this spring for our seniors with graduation, and it's the same things that you're going through. And I want you to know, first and foremost, we are thinking of each of you through this difficult and unprecedented time. But I also want to use that to talk about, and if you have been to open houses and you've seen me speak, or I've met with you one-on-one, you know I always use the expression, I believe all the hype about athletics. I was a former college basketball player, collegiate coach. I've been in this business over 35 years, and I love student athletes. I believe in all of you. And Santi has heard me say this, and will continue to hear me say it. The skill sets you develop through your high school program and hopefully into collegiate athletics at Regis, the ability to learn confidence, leadership, teamwork, work ethic, camaraderie. It's certainly fun. It's certainly you learn how to push yourself, but you also learn how to deal with adversity and how to be more resilient. And I would guess the majority of you are tapping into that right now when you transition to this new normal. And I want to acknowledge that, and I want to say to you that I do think it's a difference maker, and I want you to really think about something, and I want to congratulate you on this fact. In all of the NCAA, whether it's Division I, Division II, or Division III, so this doesn't include junior colleges, and it doesn't include NAIA schools, but in NCAA Division I, II, and III, there are only, actually there are not even 500,000 participants. So it's like 490 some thousand student athletes make it this far. So if you think about where you are right now, that one of our coaches at Regis has engaged with you, maybe even since your sophomore or junior year, they have recruited you, they have expressed interest in you, They believe you would be a fit for our program, just like Coach Capobianco did with Santi a year ago. That is an amazing achievement. That means you've put yourself in position academically and athletically and honestly as a good citizen, because that's really important to us, as you'll hear as I continue to share our philosophy. But congratulations on that, and I wish you all the best of luck, because I think college athletics is one of the most fun, competitive, and certainly if you're going to form lifelong friendships and you're going to develop a real education outside the classroom, which I will also talk about. So I guess, Vicki, with that, we can go to that first slide, which is perfect timing. A little bit about our philosophy on Regis Athletics. And again, this will be somewhat repetitive for some of you if you've heard me talk. I wear this R. I don't know if you can see my R lapel pin. I wear that R lapel pin very proudly, and I talk about the respect and responsibility, and I actually tap it like that, respect and responsibility that's involved with being a student athlete. I really believe it's a privilege to wear the uniform. I hope you felt that way in high school, and I know you'll feel that way in college, wearing the Regis Pride uniform. I think it's a privilege to play, and I can tell you, and if I've spoken to you and your parents, you've heard me say it, sportsmanship matters at Regis. The way we behave on the field, the music we play for pregame warm-up, the language our coaches use. This is an atmosphere you're going to be in next year where you're going to be able to say you've been pushed because it's competitive, but you're always going to be treated with respect and dignity. And we're going to challenge you to treat your teammates and your professors and your schoolmates with that same level of respect and inclusivity and dignity, because it really does matter. That's our brand. We're very proud of it. And we've got tons of student athletes in leadership positions all over the campus, which I think Laura Violet's going to touch on. But we really, that matters to us. And again, I know if you've been talking to your coaches throughout the year that they have mentioned this, but it really is something when we talk about the educator model of athletics. We don't think about athletics is over here in this bubble and your classroom experience is over here. It's really symbiotic. And we really look at athletics as a continuation of your classroom education. And you can count on that. And I know Laura Violet's going to talk about how our staff is going to support you in all of your academic pursuits and your goals, because academics do come first, no question about that. Now, Vicki, let's go to the next slide, because if we're going to talk about competition, we know it's a competitive atmosphere out there and that you have choices. If you're one of these 500,000 student athletes that are going to have a chance to play at the next level, we know you have good grades and we know you're good athletes, so we know you have choices. So why Pride Athletics? Well, if you're a good businessman or woman, I think we're going to give you some strategy and some differentiating factors to think about, okay, when you think about Regis Athletics. So first of all, it's a comprehensive program, right? You all know that. And I know we have student athletes across all of these sports, or most of them, on this call. So we have 10 men's programs, 10 women's programs. This is a biggie at the NCAA Division III level. We are one of the few schools in our Great Northeast Athletic Conference and in New England that have all full-time head coaches. Think about that, a full-time head coach. So if between classes you have to pop in and ask them a question, if you want to get an extra session in, shooting baskets, shooting lacrosse balls, kicking soccer balls. If you want to watch a little extra film, if you just need to talk to somebody, your head coach is going to be there. The graduate assistant program is also unique to Regis. This is a Division I model where every program, including our sports information office, our game operations crew, even our front desk worker who's our administrative assistant, we have 14 graduate assistants that help us run the program. And actually our own Laura Violet, who's on this call, who has worked her way up all the way to an assistant athletic director, was a graduate assistant. So I want Laura to jump in here and kind of talk about what that means and what that would mean for you as an undergraduate student athlete. So Laura, please jump in.
Thank you so much, Pam. Hello, everyone. It's awesome to be here. Yes, just as Dean Rooker said, I am a former grad assistant of our athletic department. It's such an integral part to have these GAs be part of your programs, be part of your coaching staff. It's such a bonus because these grad assistants, they live on campus, so you can access them if there was an emergency, or if you needed advice about something, or you just needed someone to go to. You can know that they're there on campus to help support you, in addition to your head coach. I think another thing to consider are these GAs are coming from elite colleges. They're coming from elite athletic programs. Some of them have played at the Division I level, the Division II level, and now you have full access to them on your coaching staff as a member of your coaching staff, to learn from them, to have role models in them as you advance in your 4 years. Again, their career goal is to coach, so it's a privilege for us to get to have them and for you to be able to learn from them. It's a tremendous program, and we're incredibly proud of these young individuals and these coaches.
Yeah, and I think, thank you, Laura. As you all have gotten to know your head coaches, and if you haven't yet, I really encourage you to start building that relationship. Check out their bios on our website, and that's another thing I wanted to mention. I'm sure many of you are already working that website hard, the www.goregispride.com. You can read about these coaches, you can read about their backgrounds, you can read about their accolades, whether they were an All-American swimmer at Indiana University. We've got coaches that have had tremendous playing and coaching careers that we have decided are the right fit, that are going to uphold the Regis values, that are going to support you as students, that are going to treat you with respect and dignity. That it's not going to be all about winning. It's going to be being an educator first. So we've got some amazing coaches on staff and grads, and I'm sure you feel that way if you're still engaged with us and if you've deposited. I think many of you are already sold on these individuals that have worked so hard and are so committed to our student athletes. So that's a big, big plus. Another differentiating factor in a school that's only 15, 20 minutes from Boston is that every athletic facility we have for those 20 sports programs is right on campus. So many of you, I'm sure, have looked at some other schools where that might not be the case. We think that's really important for a couple of reasons. It limits the wear and tear on our student athletes. They're not having to get into a van and drive maybe only a couple miles, but it might take a half hour to get to a site for practice and competition. Whether it's walking to the tennis courts, the softball field, the turf, the amazing track, down to the pool, the gymnasium, we feel that that is a huge differentiating factor for us. And we're very proud to say that we can host all games except our cross-country meets and indoor track at Regis. So that's a big difference. We also really like this affiliation with the Great Northeast Athletic Conference, which we call the GNAC. And again, I know some of you have been recruited for a year, maybe 2 years, so you've probably already been following the rivalries. You know, if women's soccer, you know LaSalle is the big rival in that sport. You know what some of these built-in rivalries are. We are competitive in the GNAC. We're only in the conference a couple years. It is 13 different colleges representing all of New England. And that is our goal, is to be competitive in every sport across the board. Our most recent championship was last year's outdoor track championship by our women. But all of our teams are really hungry and are knocking at the door. So we're really, really proud of that. And in terms of the role on campus, I'm going to let Santi jump in a second. What I mean by that is, if you look at our undergraduate population, we have 1,000 students, but a third are student athletes. That's incredible. That means our recognition, our identity on campus is so strong, is so positive, but I want you to hear it from one of our own. So Santi, this is a great chance for you to jump in and kind of talk about what that means to have that opportunity to be a third of the undergraduate population as a student athlete.
Absolutely, thank you. So yes, as you mentioned, 1/3 of the student population are all athletes, and it just becomes a big family at the end of the day. After a couple of weeks on campus, you're going to start to notice that you're going to see the sweatshirts, whether it's men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, whether they're a spring or a fall sport. Everybody's going to be there to help you. Everybody's going to be there to support you, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in your dorm, whether it's in a review session for one of your classes. It's just a big family. And you'll be able to see it in the cafeteria, in the trainers, in the library. And it's just a great experience, to be honest. And also, I feel like as a student athlete, you will have the chance to lead by example to other students and show them the way that students should go about Regis College. So I feel like it's a great experience.
Very well said. And thank you again for being here. And with that, I think we're ready to move on to Laura Violet's screen, which is going to talk about the amazing support academically for all of you.
Thank you, Pam. So now that you have this picture in your head about what your athletic experience could be like, let me transition for us, because obviously you're choosing Division III to have that full-rounded, that well-rounded experience of college. So what that means is your academics and you as students will come first. Make no mistake. We want you to have a fruitful and competitive athletic experience, but we need you to kind of hold your end of the bargain, hold up your end of the bargain in class. And we're going to help you along the way to do that. We're here to help you set your academic goals, number one, and then we're here to give support. Specifically, my office is here to give you support to reach those goals and to maximize your potential and really be successful in the classroom. That's one of the tenets at Regis, and it's one of the tenets of Division III, the program that we care about so deeply. For us, each team hosts some type of study hall. It does look unique depending on the program, depending on the roster size, depending on if there's an overload of freshmen or upperclassmen. But we do require some sort of first-year study hall team by team. So if your coach that you're talking to has not reached out to you about that yet, I'm sure that is something that they will be talking with you about what that study hall policy looks like. The second piece that I'd like to cover, for me, this is really where my role comes in for you, is to make sure you know how to access and you know how to communicate with the people who work in our second floor of the library. For us, our Finucane O'Sullivan Institute for Learning is a central location for all our academic support. That's where you can find your academic coaches, subject tutors, our writing center, all of our library support services that are so integral for your learning experience. How to use the library is also key. And also our accessibility office for those students who may need accommodations or may need to access accommodations if you've had a concussion or anything like that through your athletic participation.
Right.
For me and my role, it's to make sure you're plugged into those things. So if you are struggling in a class, there will probably be one while you're at Regis, or you're not sure how to contact your faculty member, or you need additional study support or tutoring support. I'm someone who you can kind of go to and make sure you know where to find those services. Each student is attached to and will be contacted by an academic coach as they come in as freshmen. That's through your first year seminar course. I know, Santi, you could probably touch on that in a little while. So you'll be reached out to by your academic coach at the beginning of the year, and that's someone who will, be someone who you can contact through your 4 years. If you need advice or need to learn about new study strategies, that's someone who can help you get plugged in so you can improve those tests and how you're doing in class. We're really proud to say that these support services are free for all students and student athletes. That's so valuable for our campus. And we're also very proud to say that, this is working. This is working for us. Our student athletes boast a 3.2 cumulative GPA across the board. We're really proud of that. Last year, we celebrated over 100 all academic student athletes for the GNAC conference. The GNAC recognizes student athletes, sophomores, juniors, seniors with a minimum 3.2 GPA, we were able to send 100 names to the conference to be celebrated. We will be doing that again in a couple weeks, so please be on the lookout to help us celebrate those student athletes as well. The last piece that I'd like to share is one way that I can kind of stay in the loop with your coaches into how you're doing in class, if there is that class that maybe you need some extra help with or extra support with. We do have an online virtual portal, I guess you could call it, called Starfish. And what Starfish does is it's a tool that we use to help track how you're doing, your success, and kind of your progress in your coursework. It also does track attendance for us, so that way we can kind of help you out if ever there was a class that you needed additional support for. And this is all, of course, in addition to your coaches being there for you, having conversations about how you're doing academically through your season and your non-traditional season as well.
And before we bring, thank you, Laura, that was great. And that's really a big part of Laura's job. So her title is Assistant Athletic Director, and she's our compliance coordinator, which she'll be monitoring your continuing eligibility. But her main job is under the umbrella of student athlete welfare. So she's your go-to person if you have to have an issue that you want to talk to her about that maybe is outside of the classroom or off the playing field. She schedules all of our speakers, our student athlete speakers, in terms of trying to, bring in speakers that can talk about confidence, or they can talk about sexual violence prevention, which is a lot of education that's going on right now. They can talk about nutrition. But Laura has a big role with our student athletes, and she's very visible. And I think it's a great success story when you think about a young woman who was a great college soccer player, had a chance to come to Regis, get her grad degree. She went and worked someplace else, but then we got her back, and she's doing a phenomenal job. So again, I think she can be a real mentor and role model for you as well. One thing I want to mention with the grade point average, think about that. That's almost 300 athletes who are here for the reason to get their degree in the 3-year program now or the 4-year program, that have a cumulative GPA of a 3.2. Why is that important? Because if you're sitting at home right now and you're a serious student, you want to make sure you're going to surround yourself with other students that have their priorities in order, right? So we want our students to have a full experience, but the order has to be academics first, their athletic experience, and then a social life. We call it kind of an inverted pyramid. And I'm really confident saying that our student athletes have those priorities in order. And I can also tell you this, when we talk about that educator model of coaching, that if you have, and Santi, you can maybe even speak to this as a potential pre-med student as well. If you have to go to your coach and say, Coach, I've got a huge review session coming up for macroeconomics, and it conflicts with our practice. That coach is going to say to you, I'm going to promise you this, they're going to say to you, okay, you can miss practice tonight, but make sure you talk to your teammates so you see what you missed. Or if you're a swimmer, they're going to say, okay, you're going to miss practice, but make sure you jump in the pool at another time. Or if you missed a scouting report, they may have you sit down with your graduate assistant to go over that. You can't do that once a week, but I will tell you this, there is no question that is the type of support we're looking for. And yes, our coaches want to win. And yes, we want to have a full roster all the time at practice. But that is the way we really support that educator model. And that's the way we really do prioritize academics. We don't just say it, we do it and we live it. So Santi, with that, anything you want to add with that? And I know you wanted to talk about that first year experience class.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of finish up that idea, say on a personal level, I would have lab that would conflict with one of my practices. Coach was even willing to say, hey, you know what? So you get out of your lab 30 minutes after practice, field hockey will be on the field, but after they finish, if you want to jump in and do some finishing, because I play as a forward, I'll be more than happy to stay behind and help you and
Perfect
get our
example.
work done for the day. So just the fact that everybody's so understanding and so willing to help is it's a great thing that you won't get in many places.
Awesome. Before we go to your screen, I guess maybe it would be helpful for the all of our participants to learn a little bit about where you're from, how we found you, and why did you end up, how did you choose Regis?
So to tell you a little bit about myself, I mean, you can see it from my background. I am originally from Colombia, but my mother is Italian. I lived all my life in Colombia until I was 60 years old. I moved to the United States to IMG Academy, which is in Florida. It's a high school for athletes, pretty much. And to be honest, you might be asking yourselves, how come a guy from a different country that goes to Florida ends up in New England? Well, to tell you the truth, I was looking at different places. I wasn't really sure which area of the United States I wanted to go to, primarily because I only knew Florida at the time. So, but it's just one of those feelings that first time I set foot on campus, I knew right away.
Awesome.
The feeling, how everybody was so welcoming, how everybody made me feel at home. Especially the guys that had me for their overnight. I'm pretty sure you guys have done some too. They were fantastic. They did everything for me to be able to enjoy, to have a good time. And one thing that I really liked was that they didn't try to sell the school to me. They told me, look, we're going to be genuine, we're going to be truthful. And at the end of the day, we're here to find out whether you like it or not. So all they did was be themselves, show me what they would do on a regular basis. And I feel like I made the perfect choice. So
awesome. And academically, obviously, that was a fit as well, right? Because
absolutely.
We're health sciences.
So
sorry. A question actually just came in, Santi, about, which I think could lead you to that next bullet point there, that team overview and commitment level. And the question was around, how do you feel the transition was from being a high school athlete to being a collegiate athlete? What were some of the differences?
Absolutely. I believe the main difference, regardless of sport you play, is the intensity. You're gonna feel that when you're on season, it's go every day. Right. And as you said before, you're gonna be pushed and you're gonna be expected to perform at your highest level every day. Yeah. But that's what it's all about. It's all about using athletics as a way to be the best version of ourselves. And
that's right.
It's a big transition. I'm not going to say to you it's going to be easy and you're going to adjust within the first 2-3 days. But if you surround yourself with the right people and as an athlete with your teammates, this is going to be a lot easier than if you were just coming as a regular student. You'll be able to form your family. You'll be able to form your group of friends. And at the end of the day, you'll realize that you guys will do pretty much everything together. And that just makes the experience a lot more enjoyable.
You know, I think one of the things for everybody out there, right, and I recognize certainly some of the names, and they have been on official visits, and many of our participants on this call have been at several open houses. They've come to the campus on unofficial visits, so they're very familiar with the team. They've seen practices, they've seen competitions. But I think one of the things that's the hardest, right, when you talk about that transition is maybe coming from that star mode. You were the best player in your high school program, and now you're put into a competitive college setting where everybody else maybe is coming from that same background, right? The best of the best. So that's that effort, that's that patience, that's that resilience of pushing yourself, of being coachable, right? Of being ready to take that challenge, of being patient. Maybe you don't start right away, but that's where all of that, that intrinsic motivation really comes alive. And we see freshmen excel. And I can tell you this, participants on this call from the class of 2024, we have coaches that are going to play the best people. So Santi, I believe you ended up starting this year for the team. Yes, so our coaches are going to, if you're good enough to play right away, you know, and you do the right thing in practice and you're working hard, doing the right thing in the community, doing the right thing in the classroom, you're going to have your opportunity to compete and compete early. But when you think about the schedule and just time management, maybe you can kind of talk about those kind of those two bullets together.
Absolutely. So I believe there's a big difference between how your schedule is going to look like during the season and out of season.
Right.
So me personally, as a men's soccer player, my season is during the fall. So you kind of just, so if you're a fall athlete, you would come into school 2 weeks early to do your preseason. By the time you would have your schedule for classes already set, and coaches will follow up with a schedule for practice and games. So I believe that one thing that I found out really helpful is the orientation my academic advisor gave me as how I should shape my schedule.
Yeah.
For example, for soccer, you would have games on Wednesday nights, and maybe they're in Connecticut and they're 2 hours away with an 8 p.m. kickoff. You'll be coming back to school very late, and you're still expected to go to class. So maybe for Thursday, instead of having an early schedule, you might want to set it up for the afternoon.
Right.
So that orientation that they gave me was very good. Also, yeah, time management is crucial. It plays a incredibly big role. You're gonna find yourself following a very strict routine every day of class, homework, practice, study hall, and do it all over again.
Right.
And if you do it right, and if you use all the tools that the school is providing you with, you're definitely going to be able to be successful and do the best you can for all areas.
That's right.
It can get overwhelming at some points, but that's, again, you're going to have everybody around you to help you.
That's right.
You can always reach out to anyone, teammates, coaches, professors, even Pam, Laura, Vicky, all of them, they're always willing to help. And yeah, I believe time management is a skill that you would still develop during the first couple of weeks you're here at school, but once you get it narrowed down, you'll be pretty good.
Couple things I wanted to add to that. So fall athletes, you would come back 2 weeks early. That's all paid for. You're able to move into your permanent room and you start what we call preseason practice, preseason camp. That's typically an invitation only. So your fall coaches would communicate with you on that. And then of course we have the winter season, we have the spring season. The fall sports, like a men's soccer, has their traditional season, which is when the GNAC championship is. So that's in the fall. Championship games usually in November. And then they get a non-traditional 4 or 5 weeks where they can have 16 practice days or practices in the spring. So some of the sports, if you're a cross-country indoor and outdoor track person, you're going to be here from August competing until May. So all the sports are just a little bit different. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about the academics and Laura was talking about the academic support, because I know we have some nursing majors on the call today. Regis does an amazing job with supporting our nursing students and all of your clinicals and those other responsibilities you have with being able to allow you to compete. Some of our best and most talented student athletes have come up through the nursing program and continue to do so every year. I haven't worked at a lot of schools that have had nursing as a major, so this was new to me. But I did find out that some of our competitors say to somebody that wants to be a nurse, well, you can't really be a nurse and compete. Maybe you could be a biology major. Regis has found a way. We're always thankful to the faculty. We thank Laura Violet for her relationship with the faculty and our coaches. But our student athletes, you can be a nurse and you can fulfill all your academic goals as well. So I definitely wanted to just mention that. Santi, academic, that's a nice segue. Academic and career goals. What do you have in your short term? What are your long-term plans?
So for me as a short term, obviously I want to keep up with a good GPA. I want to do the best I can.
What's your GPA right now? Do you mind
I
saying?
finished first semester with a 3.92.
Ah, very nice. Okay.
And just do what other people did for me when I came here at Regis, and it's just that guidance and that help from an upperclassman. That's always very helpful. And so to me, my goal is, as I said before, I'm a biology major with a pre-med track and an exercise science minor, because my ultimate goal is to graduate, go to med school, become an orthopedic surgeon, and with a specialization on sports medicine.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Love it.
One of the things that I want everybody to know what a special place Regis is, and if you follow us on Twitter, the college account, our individual sport programs account, one of the things we're also doing in this unprecedented time is offering care and support, and just many, many thanks to all of our healthcare workers in the field, our frontline nurses, etc., that have come through Regis, that have worn the uniform, and they're out really using those skills and really that adversity and that confidence and that strength and all of those things that they're digging deep for right now. So we've also been very thankful to all of our alums that have that are out there really doing their best for the community and when we're in dire need. So I wanted to mention that. I also, and Vicki mentioned this in the beginning, we really think the vibrancy aspect. So if you're not a student athlete and you're on this call, we host about 120 home events a year between all of our sports programs. So it's an opportunity for you to be a fan. If you've been a mascot at your high school, there's an opportunity to try out to wear the Reggie or Regina, our two lion and our lioness mascot costumes. We have a battery, a roster full of work study students. So we hire work study students to work virtually every game, meet, match that we host. We have a full complement of work study students. That's another way to get involved. As a matter of fact, a lot of our athletes, a lot of our men's soccer players, when their season's over, they'll be work study students for volleyball, and they'll support some of our other spring sports. And as a way to make some money. So there's opportunities to be involved in a number of ways. You could also be a team manager. So there's, again, opportunities. Another thing about Division III, if this is a question, you can play more than one sport. We encourage that. Obviously, the coaches have to communicate, but I'm guessing we have some dual sport student athletes on the phone right now. I like that, and I'm guessing many of you are multi-sport athletes in high school. I think you get a chance to hear from a different coach and their style. You have a chance to interact and meet other student athletes. You have a chance to work different body parts as your sport needs different movements. So you can also play more than one sport. And Laura, I think one of the things I also wanted you to touch on were some of the leadership opportunities, community service opportunities, and trips.
Certainly.
Yes, the community service trips.
Absolutely. I think the best way to put it, we're founded. Regis was founded by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Boston, and one of our tenets is service and leadership. Service to the dear neighbor, service to your community, civic engagement, and how important that is to what Santi was talking about before. Bettering you as humans, bettering our students as people in the world. We're really proud of those student athletes who choose to participate on our service trips and attend and travel with our groups that do domestic and international travel for service. We have a trip that goes to Appalachia, a group of graduate and undergraduate nursing students who go to communities who live in Appalachia to teach them wellness and self-care tools and different ways to, self-care and take care of their community and families. We have trips to South Dakota. We have trips to Puerto Rico to help with the recovery efforts from the hurricanes that have happened over the recent years. We have a trip to New Orleans. I feel there's probably a call with our CMS staff I had the
Absolutely.
privilege of, I have had the privilege of attending a trip to Peru several years back. So our CMS work and our civic engagement is really dear to my heart. And we do have a ton of student athletes that get those opportunities, and typically they're the greatest leaders, and they get to serve in those leadership roles on those trips as well. Not only on those trips do they serve as leaders, but on campus as well. We're really proud that the last, I think, four student government presidents. So each class has a student government board, but we're really proud our last four student government presidents have been student athletes.
Well, it's going to be 5 in a row too, because the 2 gentlemen running for next year's student government president are also athletes. So we're going to have 5 in a row. So job well done.
So I'm just going to interrupt you for a second because a question came in that's kind of
oh great.
So can student athletes still study abroad?
Yes, they can. We are really excited that actually the past year and a half, I'd say really the past year, last semester specifically, we had over 8 student athletes study abroad, which was probably the highest number we had in a while. We were looking to iron out some things to consider, making sure your grades get back in time so that this campus and the school can rule your eligibility to make sure you've done what you needed to do, and your GPA is where it needs to be able to participate. But yes, that opportunity to study abroad is tremendous. Our coaches want you to do that. Again, that's part of that Division III model and that Division III philosophy of you being able to take advantage of those opportunities that are presented to you and really have a well-rounded experience.
Let me say one thing. Your coaches want you to do it, but they would prefer you did it. Like if you were a spring athlete, I think we had 5 men's tennis players. So their season is in the spring. I think we had 5 men's tennis players. Is that right, Laura Violet? Study abroad in the fall.
Yep.
So if I were a women's lacrosse player, we would target studying abroad in the fall as well, because women's lacrosse is a spring season.
Yep.
Some of the other sports that span fall and spring are a little more we just have to be coordinated a little bit more, but I think that's a tremendous opportunity. And you're right, we have a new coordinator of global studies, and there's a lot of opportunities. And I believe, Vicki, you could even jump in here.
Sure.
I think there's full semester opportunities, and I think there are other smaller opportunities as well. It doesn't have to be the full semester. Is that correct?
Right. So we have anything from your traditional semester-long study abroad programs where you're probably fulfilling some of those core requirements with the course that you're taking. There are some more condensed trips that happen as well. Some of those would happen maybe over like the winter break or some of the intersession times.
Right.
And then we have our week-long service trips sprinkled in throughout as well. So there's really an opportunity with kind of whatever your comfort level is.
Right, exactly.
Travel and the length of time, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved that way.
And go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to mention, if traveling abroad or domestic isn't something that you want to do, there are plenty of ways to kind of get that experience domestically as well, whether that be service or participation in something else, inside the United States, inside the region. Specifically, to go back to that community service piece, each team does a really nice job with a service project each semester, whether that's a walk for a cause or raising money for a fund, or just an awareness campaign around sexual violence prevention, or the One Love Foundation, or
blood drives.
Blood drives. Maybe coming out of COVID-19, there could be some service projects. This will stick with us for a long time. Maybe this is an area that our students can be involved in. So that's another thing to think about. It's not just abroad and those big trips. It can be something small within our community as well.
Sure.
Hey, if anybody has any questions, use that chat button and send those questions in. We could talk forever, but if you do have any specific questions, please don't hesitate.
Great, here we go. What impact does college student trips have on the student athlete trajectory?
I can jump in there. I think, and thank you for the question. I think anytime you're away from your team, obviously, there's going to be, people are going to be continuing to progress and they're going to be competing, and you are going to miss some games. But I also would say that breadth of experience, that amazing depth, that once in a lifetime opportunity to study abroad, if that works for you and your family, I would think when it's measured against your whole 4 years, it's going to be worth it. So I would say that I can't say that it's not going to have any kind of an impact, but I would also say that measured against whatever that I've got to fight for my starting position again, or I maybe missed the non-traditional season in the fall. Measured against that, I would say somebody's knocking at my door. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I think it's the mailman. Measured against that, I still think it would be a great opportunity to study abroad. Did that answer your question? If it didn't, I can follow up. I don't know if you have anything to add, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reasons why our coaches choose to coach at this level and why students like you choose to pursue this level of the NCAA and participation is to have those experiences.
Right.
So when you communicate your needs and wants, as long as you communicate them with your coach, that can be a good conversation. And that's all we would ask you to do. And obviously understanding some of the things that Pam touched on, but that's an experience we would never want you to miss out on.
I can say this to you, it would never be held against you.
Totally.
It would never be held against you if you chose to take advantage of a study abroad opportunity. I mean, the 5 men's tennis players went abroad and they came back and had an opportunity, clean slate, competed for their positions. They did get their spring trip in Florida, and everything fell right back into place.
Mm-hmm.
Another question we have is, you have extra support for international students? The student asking the question is from Canada.
I can answer this one.
Sure, great.
Santi could, yeah, Santi.
Right, yeah.
And Santi as well. Santi, let me start if you don't mind. Obviously, we'll make sure that you're plugged into the support on campus. You know where to find support if and when you needed it. I would say maybe, getting cued in with our Center for Global Connections to see what type of connections can be made there would be key. But there's also an outlet in clubs and organizations. Maybe there's a way for you to start a club with other students who might be coming from Canada or other students who are international. There might even be a club that exists for students who are from out of the country. But it's a great opportunity. And one thing to keep in mind, though, is when you come to Regis, you're part of the Regis family. So that is one thing to throw out there.
Yeah, I would also say as an international student, you most likely worked with Marissa Kalori, our senior admission counselor process. And even though you are accepted and maybe coming to Regis, she can still be, a person for you to go to during your time at Regis. We in admission love when students still come back and say hi to us. So please do keep in touch with her that way. So we have a couple questions for Santi specifically.
Santi, you're blowing up.
Yeah. Santi, what does a typical practice look like?
So first I'm going to tell you what I believe typical practice would look like for every sport, and then I'm going to go into specifics for men's soccer.
Great.
Every practice has a purpose, and that's guaranteed, whether it's in the off season or it's during the season. So your coach would let you know what the purpose of the practice is, depending on your coach's he will tell you the day before, or before the warm-up, or the morning before the practice. So typically, a practice for men's soccer, coaching the day before would prepare us. We focus a lot on possession of the ball. So coach will send us passing drills to look a video to learn, so that when we would get to practice, we would be able to do those passing drills before, without wasting time on learning them during practice, because time is limited and you want to take as much advantage of it as you can. But a typical day for us in practice, say our practice was at 2 p.m. The team would show up around 1:15, 45 minutes before practice, and we would play soccer, tennis, or we would do a little round or one activity to get the team going, to get the team mindset, and if you want to play around, joke around before practice, to make sure you have that space to do it. And then when you step on the field with coach, everybody's at their 100% and everybody's focusing on
ready to go.
So our typical practice would run with a regular warm-up, which is done by the seniors. Then we'd move on into specific of the day, whether it's shooting, possession, defending.
Right, right.
And then what I like about coach is that he would separate us on given days, depending on your position. So you do get, again, the difference from high school to college level, you do get that focus on what primarily you want to get better at and your
Right.
position. So I hope that answered your question.
And I think the awesome thing, back to what Dean Roker said earlier about all of our staff being full-time, is you're not having your coaches fly in from their from their day job or
Right.
leaving early for their night job, right? They're with us full-time, so you're going to have them before practice, during practice, after practice, and that's a you know, something that's really important for us and for you in your experience.
Before you get to that next question, Vicki, I think one of the things, you know, Santi mentioned the seniors doing part of the warm up. I can say, and a lot of the you're all seniors on this call, and you're probably captains, a lot of you, or you had a leadership role in your school and in your program. Our coaches really work on that leadership development within each individual sports program here as well. We have leadership councils within different teams. Some teams have team captains. That's another leadership opportunity for each of you if that's something that you aspire to. There's other leadership opportunities on campus. We mentioned student government. There's also opportunities to be orientation leaders or opportunities to be in the residence hall. Typical practices are going to use their seniors in different ways, and I think Santi did a great job of talking about a practice. There's always going to be a warm-up component. Most coaches work within about a 2-hour window, unless it's maybe the day before the game and it's going to be a shorter practice. There's obviously going to be fundamental work. There's going to be maybe, you know, if you're a sport that has an offensive and defensive breakdown, there'll be some kind of a scrimmage opportunity. Obviously, swimming is very different, but that's a typical practice. And again, it depends what point in the season. Is it the day before a game? Are we working on scouting an opponent and that type of thing? So Vicki, go ahead with that next question for Santi.
Great. Yeah, this is a good one. Did you feel that there was a vast difference in fitness level between you as a freshman versus the seniors? And did the fitness package your coach sent prior prepare you enough for the preseason?
Great question.
Yeah, it is a really good question. So for men's soccer in the fall, coach informed us at the beginning of the summer that we would have 2 fitness tests. One that would involve closed distance running, pretty much sprints, and then one that would involve more of an endurance and stamina compartment. Coach sent us a plan to follow, and he has specified which was each test. It was no surprise to us when we showed up for preseason. And I feel like the plan covered more than enough that you needed. So if you follow the plan accordingly, you would be more than fit. And you could see the results paying off on the field. For our team, the first fitness test was shuttles. So we just had to run a specific amount of shuttles within a time window.
Yep.
The whole team passed that test. So the commitment level you notice from everybody is that everybody wants to be a part of the team, and everybody will do the most they can to be on that starting 11 in soccer specifically. And then for the second fitness test, which was a little harder, to break it down to you, we would have to run a total of 2 miles, broken down into half a mile each, which is 2 laps around the track, under 2 minutes and 45 seconds with a 30-second rest between each. On that occasion, I believe a little bit more than half the team passed the test, but I'm very proud to say that we had 7 freshmen and 6 of us passed it, and
Awesome.
2 of us were the first 4 to come in the fitness and have the best time. So
All right.
at the end of the day, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you want to be an impactful player since the beginning of your career at Regis. But the resources your coach will provide are more than enough for you to be absolutely on top of your fitness.
Great point, Santi.
Santi is a natural at this. This is a deal, everybody. So I've been around a long time, 35 plus years. Every coach has some version of a workout, some suggested drills, training to do. This is really important for the fall athletes because I think of everything through a competitive lens, right? So if I don't come in shape in that August period and I'm a fall sport athlete, I could get banged up with shin splints or blisters. And every time I'm in the training room getting my blisters taken care of, or I can't practice because I have shin splints because I didn't do the right thing training, I'm losing time to show what I can do on the field. Mm-hmm. So this is where you have to, like Santi said, who do you want to be? How good do you want to be? Mm-hmm. For 35 years I've been coaching, there are going to be student athletes that do that workout to the letter. If it's a Tuesday and this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to do it. If it's Thursday, I'm going to do it. There are going to be other athletes that can find time occasionally. They do it every other day. They do what they can. Sometimes it's outside of your control. Sometimes it isn't. And then there's going to be some other student athletes that maybe take it for granted. They're physically gifted, so they think they're going to be okay. And they're always going to be on that continuum. So this is where you decide, like Santi said, who do you want to be? The fact that 6 of the 7 freshman men made the training for men's soccer shows me that we've got a bright future, because that's a nucleus that was self-motivated and really put themselves in a position to succeed. Mm-hmm. Vicki, I'm going to jump on one of these questions, and then we'll go back to, we'll let Laura Violet handle the one about classes and how we schedule. Sure. Student athletes have to have insurance, but there's not a specific athletic insurance. Mm-hmm. But you have to have a policy that covers you in the event of injury, and that's just like there's nothing special for student athletes, so it's the same insurance that the college requires. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that question. So Vicki, you want to give Laura that other one on the classes?
Absolutely. So do classes interfere with practices, or can we create our own schedule for that not to happen?
Great question. We would ask that the day that you, I know that this summer you'll be taking your exams to be placed in a couple classes, and then be coming to campus for course registration. We ask that when you do come to campus for course registration, you let us know that you're on campus so we can say hi, let your coach know that you're here. But in addition to that, let whoever's helping you plan your courses know that you're a student athlete, preferably what season student athlete you are. Specifically if you're in the fall, right? Because that's a semester that would be coming first for you. Even if you're a spring athlete, it's smart to let them know ahead of time that you're an athlete. And then, let them know you're an athlete and that you'd prefer to take classes before, we like to say, 3 o'clock.
Right.
It is a rule that you can't miss class for practice.
That's right. An NCAA rule. Yeah.
It's an NCAA rule, so you can't just, blow off class to attend practice. Mm-hmm. There is a policy that we do have to be able to be excused at your faculty's discretion from class for a game.
That's right.
If you do happen to be enrolled in a class, because there might be a couple, depending on your major, that you will be registered for, registered in for the evenings or late afternoons. And there is a policy that we do follow, that faculty understand. They're very well versed in it, and they get it, and they're usually pretty cooperative, and understand the experience that you have, and they want to make sure that you're able to go. It's just about getting that done early, communicating early that you have a game and you're asking to be excused, and it usually works in our favor, no problem.
And if I may add something really quickly to that as well. Last semester for me was my season, and I didn't miss one practice.
Wow. Awesome.
There you go.
I was in Colombia, so I wasn't even able to physically attend the meeting where I had to pick my classes. So I did it
orientation.
And they were still able to help me out, and they do a good job of balancing out things. So you do want to try to, if you can, of course, set up your schedule in a way where maybe the workload during the season is less than out of season, because during the season you're going to be very busy, and your
right.
is definitely going to be in your athletics a lot more than out of season. So They do a really good job at helping you, and they built it for me. I can't take credit for that because
Yeah, and when in doubt, contact me.
Yep.
I'm happy to give you my email. I'll put it in this chat here, or contact your coach to be able for us to help you out and make sure you have the information you need, depending on when practice times, asking your coach, because it depends sport by sport, right? Just making sure you're communicating is key.
That's awesome.
I would add in terms of the course registration. So once students are submitting their enrollment deposit, really within a week or so of that, you'll start to receive those placement tests to take, or you'll receive instructions on how to do that. And once you've completed those, our academic advising team is going to reach out directly to you to set up a virtual appointment to get you registered for classes. So for some of you who have been enrolled for a little while, or some who plan to do so, you could essentially be registered for your classes by the end of the month. So the sooner those placement tests are complete, the sooner you'll have that schedule in hand and be able to work through all of that.
This was great. This is the most fun I've had working remotely. For the 2 weeks I've been away from the office. Like many of you, I love people. I love my team. I love my staff, my head coaches. I miss our student athletes. I hope we see a lot of you next fall coming to Regis College to continue your academic and athletic career. Santi did an amazing job. He's an example of, we're just so proud of these best and brightest young men and women that are just contributing to our community in so many ways and are so competitive and make us proud every day with how they handle themselves. And the fact, again, I don't want you to underestimate what I'm saying. The fact that you are still on our coaches' minds, that they want to bring you into our family and bring you into our program and give you an opportunity to compete at the NCAA Division III level and be an elite company. It is elite company that you've put yourself in position to join. I thank you so much for making this time. I know that you're busy with your own online classes, and like Laura said, I'm also available via email. I know many of you from your time on campus, but we certainly wish you the best of luck. We're thinking about you. Please stay safe with your family, your friends. Stay home, and let's all get through this together. And I always like to say, go Pride. But thank you guys so much. And Vicki, Laura, Santi, I don't know if you have a closing comment, but I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, this was great. I am continuously thankful for the technology that is able to bring us all together through all of this. And I just echo everything that Pam said. And the admission team is here for you in the same way that our coaches are. So anything you need, please do reach out.
All right, see you next fall, everybody. Sign up for that Facebook page if you're not on it yet.
Yes.
Regis Class of 2024. Go team.
Just say one last thing. It's first and foremost, again, I know you guys have heard it a couple times, but huge congratulations on if you committed. If you're still looking for options, again, huge congratulations because we know you have options and we know you can bring something special to the table.
That's it.
That's right.
Coming from a student like myself, feel free to reach out to me. I will do my best to get back to you and answer any questions you might have, or just be your first friend here on campus. Just my pleasure to work with everyone on here.
Awesome.
I hope to see you soon on campus as well.
Great job.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Stay healthy.
Go Pride.